Hi, everybody, and welcome. We're going to give people a minute or so to get logged in, and then we'll get started. All right, we'll go ahead and get started, and then people can log in as they get time. Again, hello, everyone, and welcome. Our webinar today is Start Your SEL Journey with Catch's new K-12 SEL. Our presenters today are Abby Rose and Margot Toppen. This webinar is brought to you by the Great Lakes MHTTC and SAMHSA. The Great Lakes ATTC, MHTTC, and PTTC are funded by SAMHSA under the following cooperative agreements. The opinions expressed in this webinar are the views of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the official position of DHHS or SAMHSA. The MHTTC network believes that words matter and uses affirming, respectful, and recovery-oriented language in all of its activities. We have some housekeeping details for you today. If you are having technical issues, please individually message Christina Spanbauer or Stephanie Bellman in the chat section at the bottom of your screen, and they'll be happy to help you. If you have questions for the speaker today, please put them in the Q&A section, also at the bottom of your screen, and we will address them either during or at the end of the presentation. A copy of the PowerPoint slides, as well as the recording and any handouts, will be available on the MHTTC website within 2 weeks. You will be directed to a link at the end of this presentation to a very short survey. We would really appreciate it if you could fill it out. It probably takes about 3 minutes, and it's how we report our activities back to SAMHSA, so we can continue to do these types of presentations for no charge. We will be using automated captioning during the presentation today, and certificates of attendance will be sent to all who attend the full session. They will be sent to your email, and they can take somewhere between 7 and 10 days. If you would like to see what else we're up to, please follow us on social media. And if you subscribe to our email list, you will get a reminder about upcoming events on Thursdays. Again, we are excited that our presenters today are Abby Rose and Margot Toppen. Abby joined Catch Global Foundation as a program manager in 2016. She is responsible for developing and disseminating Catch's early childhood and school whole child programs. In addition to her work at Catch, Abby has been a national trainer for Shape America's Let's Move Active School Physical Activity Leadership Initiative, as well as a member of the Shape America Physical Activity Council. Previously, Abby was the school wellness specialist in the Office of Student Health and Wellness of Chicago Public Schools. Her main areas of focus were comprehensive school physical activity programming and early childhood wellness. Abby was the founding PE teacher and director of the Health and Wellness at Namaste Charter School, a national model of school wellness as a vehicle for student success on the southwest side of Chicago. Abby lives in Chicago and enjoys dancing and staying active with her 2 young daughters. Margot Toppen is a visionary leader who works at the intersection of SEL, arts, and physical activities. In 2006, Margot developed Dancing with Class, now a highly sought after program serving hundreds of schools each year. This paved the way for the development of EduMotion, SEL Journeys digital platform that delivers an SEL-themed movement curriculum inspired by world cultures. Margot is a dynamic presenter who frequently appears at conferences related to SEL, arts, and physical education. A graduate of Northwestern University, she recently completed Kellogg's nonprofit Executive Scholars Program with the focus on innovation and leadership. With a dedication to collective impact, Margot is the founding member of Castle's SEL Providers Council and Shape America's Task Force for SEL in Health and Physical Education. She has also served on the Partnership and Professional Learning Panel for Ingenuity, a leader in arts education, advocacy, and research. In 2019, she co-presented with Ingenuity at Kessel's inaugural SEL Exchange. In a past life, Margot worked as a multimedia content producer, and she's enjoyed putting some of those skills back to use with the launch of SEL's Journeys. So welcome both of you, and we are excited to have you as our presenters today.
All right, well, that was lots of information about myself and Abby. Thank you so much for that kind introduction and for having us as your guest presenters today. We're really happy and grateful for all who are attending. So just a quick overview of the objectives that Abby and I hope you will get from this conference presentation, being taking a look at how Catch integrates SEL, social emotional learning, into whole child wellness, exploring the inextricable link between physical and mental wellness, learning about dance and movement as an evidence-based modality for SEL, and taking a tour of Catch's new SEL Journeys program. So before we move into all of that good content, I wanted to take a minute to kind of check in with everyone who's here and introduce you to our anchor activity. So we have 5 anchor activities, and I'll kind of share more on that later, but they all focus really on engaging our mind, heart, and body in various aspects of social emotional learning development. So this first activity is a self-awareness building. It's also a check-in activity for educators or program facilitators to kind of use with students, to quickly check in. So what I'd like to invite you to do is, a link was just shared in the chat. If everybody who's participating today could click on that link. And Abby, if you want to go ahead and stop sharing, I'm going to actually take over for a minute and walk you through this activity. So you should be on the Mind, Heart, Body check-in. And the first question is actually asking you to provide your name. I'd like everyone to just skip that question. We're going to do this on an anonymous basis, but this is a tool that teachers or educators or program facilitators can use to create a custom list of their students so that you can quickly find out how your students are doing each day. So what I would like to ask everyone who's on the webinar today, anonymously, to just complete the 3 check-in questions. So checking in with your mind, how are you doing right now? Are you feeling very alert, focused, and ready to learn? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Or has it been a Monday and you're on that lower end right now? The second one is your heart. How are you feeling in this moment? Just in this moment. Are you like really optimistic, feeling great, just kind of average, or are things going a little rough today? And then lastly, how's your health today? How's your energy level? Did you eat any healthy foods for breakfast? Did you eat breakfast? So give yourself an honest assessment about how you're feeling in these 3 realms of body, heart, and mind. So hopefully it looks like at least 9 people have responded. If I could get a few more, okay, 10. I know there's a lot of you on the call, so everybody, I'll give a moment of silence so everyone can reflect and choose their answers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and we'll take a look. And again, this is just completely anonymous, but we can kind of see. So we got 14 responses. Of our 14 responses, we had a majority who felt on the alertness scale that they were a 4. So alert, but interestingly, no one is just like off the charts with alertness this morning. maybe not surprisingly, it is a Monday, as I noted, but we got a lot of people just in the middle ground. All right, so no one's really struggling. No one's really amazing. We all kind of fell somewhere in that middle range. Looks like we're in the same with emotions, although weighing more towards just kind of neutral right now. So a lot of neutral emotions, and then a bit more of few people on the more feeling pretty good. And then health, looks like we were really evenly split on the health one, about 30% at a 3, 30% at a 4, and then a couple people who maybe feel a little low energy. And actually that's our one category, or no, we also have the category above. We have some people who are really excelling with feeling good right now. So congrats to you. But yeah, so the point of this is just to bring self-awareness. So for yourself to kind of think through that we're not just one piece of that, of the mind, heart, and body, that all those things are really interconnected. And then this is a tool that we provide in the SEL Journeys program, as well as the Catch Coordination Kit, to help give teachers a tool and a framework for checking in with students every day. All right, so thank you for participating in that. And I would like to ask Abby to go back to our slides, and I will continue to give you a little bit more kind of background about how Catch is integrating social and emotional learning, what we mean by social emotional learning, and then a look at our actual resources. So as we just learned with the warm-up activity, we really define whole child wellness as a way of nurturing the mind, heart, and body. And more as we move forward in our work in this space, we are working on really bringing those social and emotional, mental wellness aspects into everything we do. And why is that? Because there is such a close interrelationship between physical and mental health. People who struggle with mental health there's lots of data that shows that they are also more likely to develop some physical complications, and vice versa, that people who are not, who maybe are neglecting their physical health are more likely to develop a mental health issue or suffer from mental illness at some point. So yeah, that is kind of the premise on which we really are connecting the mind, heart, and body, is the fact that those two things really impact each other in equal measure. So for those who aren't familiar with the CASEL framework, CASEL is an organization. It stands for Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning. They're the leading research and advocacy organization for SEL. And they've been doing this work for more than 30 years and have developed this framework that you see on the right, the wheel of social emotional learning. So the definition CASEL provides for social and emotional learning is that it's the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So it's really those 5 kind of pie pieces of this graphic that are the kind of the components, or what are called the 5 broad competencies of SEL. The reason that they're colored the way they are is evident in, like, self-awareness and self-management are both intrapersonal, meaning they have to do with just myself as an individual and my development. And then the social awareness and relationship skills are interpersonal, meaning they have to do with how I relate and form relationships with others. And then the responsible decision-making is really that cognitive domain of problem solving, making healthy choices, etc. So social emotional learning and movement is where Catch really works to help students not just talk about SEL, but really embody it, really find ways to experience and understand the aspects of social emotional learning through their bodies. So some ways that SEL, that movement can help students with their social and emotional learning development in terms of self-awareness. Movement can help students develop physical and mental awareness, self-confidence, and self-efficacy. In terms of self-management, movement activities provide a wonderful framework through which students can practice impulse control and develop self-discipline. In terms of social awareness, movement provides a way for students to develop respect for others. And in the particular model that we use, as you'll see later, a large emphasis on celebrating diversity, both honoring and celebrating your own culture as well as that of others. And then relationship building, practicing communication, social engagement, relationship building, and teamwork can be done very effectively in very active ways. And finally, in terms of, again, our focus on the cultural awareness element that's in the program, students become aware of their role as global citizens. So the program that Catch offers is called SEL Journeys. And it is a program that is comprised of 30 social emotional learning lessons with grade level differentiation. And it can be paired with with global dance destinations to make hundreds of unique lesson combinations. The full length, there are full length lessons, and then there are sort of mini lessons or movement breaks. But in the 20 to 30 minute lessons, students are introduced to new social emotional learning themes as they explore a world culture and learn about a dance from that culture. And supplemental resources are provided to extend learning activities. And you'll get to take a look at this later. And this program is aligned to that CASEL framework we looked at. Each lesson is aligned to one of those 5 broad competency domains. And then it provides 25 lessons on the platform related to the sub-competencies, plus 5 anchor activities, one of which you already experienced, which was that mind, heart, body check-in. And we use the word big idea in the platform to refer to the different competencies and sub-competencies. So again, benefits of using a program like this, where we really focus on this movement aspect, allow students to build self-confidence, develop self-awareness through mind, heart, body engagement, build relationships and empathy, celebrate diversity and differences, improve their cognitive development, relieve stress and anxiety, develop gross motor skills, connect with others. And it's a beautiful thing that allows all ages and all abilities to participate together. So why are we using dance as such a focal point for social emotional learning? And there's a reason, and it's backed by quite a large body of research. So there are numerous studies that compare dance to other forms of physical activity, as well as actually other art forms. And they indicate that the dance is producing higher social emotional learning outcomes, not to say that those other activities aren't also resulting in SEL outcomes, but higher outcomes especially in the areas of self-perception, self-confidence, and empathy. And notably, these outcomes are particularly high for English language learners and students of low socioeconomic status. And when dance is presented as a form of cultural expression, it's particularly effective. So here's some of the kind of highlights from some of those studies that kind of provide almost answer the question, why is this the case? So dance engages culturally diverse and marginalized groups and promotes understanding, open conversations, and trust between teachers and students. Students in dance programs demonstrate increased respect for others, awareness and understanding of other cultures, and pride in their own cultural heritage. And some studies show that dance more effectively promotes SEL in students of non-white ethnic origin than do other arts. And yeah, So what I will take one more moment to talk about the English language learner aspect, because this is particularly important, is that it provides, there's a big emphasis in this program and approach on nonverbal communication. And it allows students an outlet through which to express emotion and develop these SEL competencies, where it's not about having to find the right words, where it really is more of just a physical embodiment. So that relieves some of sort of the pressure to always have the right words to explain or talk about how you feel, etc. So we view this as kind of a magic formula. If you think about kind of the self-care industry and some of the themes that sort of always come up around how, how to take care of yourself. We hear about exercise, playing music, do something creative, stay connected with others. And so there's science behind those reasons. That's not just like a thing that people say. It's actually shown that any kind of movement and exercise boosts our endorphins. That's like why runners get the runner's high. And that music is actually shown to reduce our cortisol. So endorphins is the feel-good hormone. Cortisol is kind of our fight or flight response. So, so when you combine these things, creativity is shown in studies to boost immunity. And there is a clear link between our social connection and our long-term heart health. So what is the one activity that brings all of these pieces together? Music, movement, creativity, and connection. It's dance. So that's kind of the magic of why this is such an effective tool and modality that we built an entire program around. So so now I'm going to go back to the screen share, and I'm just going to so I've been talking about a combination of why movement and SEL are so interconnected, and also previewing that we have a program that really embraces this modality. And so now I'm going to actually show you, if you work with Catch, what this actually could look like. Where I am right now, so when you go into Catch, if you have a Catch user account, some of you already may have, you log into Catch and you go to a dashboard, and on your dashboard you'll find tiles that take you to all the different Catch resources that you have subscriptions to. So for those who subscribe to our SEL Journeys program, they have a tile that takes them to the SEL Journeys teacher guide and the Journey platform. The Journey platform itself is student-facing content, and the lessons are to be enjoyed in groups together. They're really fun. So we'll take a quick look first at the teacher guide, and I'll just show K through 5 for now, but 6 through 12 as far as the teacher guide is set up very similarly. So in our teacher guide, what we see is lesson previews and some other background foundational information. So there's a whole getting started section that kind of gets teachers or lesson facilitators acquainted, not just with the platform, but really with some background about social emotional learning, the essential need to create a safe and supportive environment, and how to do that. And then also ways to take the ideas that are presented to students in these SEL Journeys lessons and extend and reinforce them. Because like with any learning, if students just hear it once, it's not going to become fully internalized, of course. There is lots of ways to reinforce SEL when, doing English and language arts, even math, like you can integrate it into other subjects or into an out of school time program. So we create pathways for connecting this program to those other parts of the student's day. And then after the getting started section, then we have the 5 units, which tie out again directly to that CASEL framework for social emotional learning. And in each unit, there are 6 lessons. And the first is actually that anchor activity. So the Mind, Heart, Body check-in tool that you experienced at the beginning, there's link and instructions for teachers to use that tool with their students. So that's the kind of the anchor activity for the unit on self-awareness. And then from there, there's 5 more lessons that are taught via the SEL Journeys platform. And I'll show you that in just one more second. So we go through over here, teachers can just kind of preview what the lesson is going to be, like what the objective is, what the big idea we're talking about. There's just kind of a guiding question or discussion question or 2 embedded in each lesson. So teachers can kind of prepare themselves for having those conversations with students. And then there's an activity where students embody the SEL skill. Then there's a breakdown of kind of grade level differentiation for these activities. And then the tie-ins that I mentioned. So if I want to reinforce the idea of identifying emotions, which is the lesson theme of the one I'm on, during physical education time, we provide just some little prompts, like this English language arts prompt is a good one as an example. So if we're doing a lesson on identifying emotions, we could reinforce this by asking students to think about how words in a text convey emotion and notice and name the emotions they feel when reading a text. And then perhaps working with a partner to sort of embody that with physical gestures so they can see how they can really grow self-aware of how they themselves might express various emotions, and also how other people their peers may do it slightly differently. So so that's this is just the teacher guide preview. And then if we hop on over to the actual journey, so I click Start Journey. This is the kind of the portal into the student-facing content. So teachers who have accounts on the platform, the first thing they do is they can set up a classroom, and they can name their class and choose the grade level for their class so that they get the right age level content. And then once they've done that, they'll have a passport with that class name and on their dashboard here. And so it's from there that they can dive in and start to take these journeys with their students. The reason we set up those classrooms is then the journeys that any classroom or group of students has completed are tracked right here. It stores some formative assessment data as well as the actual just information about the journey and the engagement. And then in the teacher guide, it provides kind of the scope and sequence for making these journey selections, but it's also good to note that if teachers or facilitators choose to go kind of off book and go in a different order for some reason, like perhaps wanting to map the lessons to some other programming they're doing or so forth, that they can actually override and do the lessons in a different order. And the lessons are actually all standalone enough that they don't have to rely on a previous lesson to kind of make sense. So they're picking their cultural destination, which will determine what type of movements are incorporated into the lesson, because all the movement stuff is based on authentic dance steps from a specific time and place. And they will also learn, and then they also choose their big idea. Their big idea is organized by the CASEL Competency framework. And then from that framework, for each of those 5 broad competencies, I have 5 sub-competencies, which give me a lesson on, a lesson that's more specific, like a more fine-tuned part of the competency. So that's that.
Joy, Noah, Anya, Paz. We are ready to explore.
do a quick check-in because was the sound, did you guys hear the sound okay? Abby, good. Okay, cool. That's the introduction to an SEL journey. This is like a 3rd or 4th grade journey. So these animated characters greet the students each time.
Welcome to today's journey. Our big idea today is ethical responsibility. This means acting in ways that are healthy and positive for ourselves and others. We also have a responsibility to speak up if we see someone being mistreated. For example, when playing active games, we can make sure to follow safety rules and not be rough with others. How can you be safe and stand up for yourself and others?
So what if you see across the top bar here, these are kind of the 5 stages of the journey. So we had the intro and now we're in the big idea. And so the big idea is always kind of defining what our social emotional learning focus is for the day. And you'll notice the learning objective is down in the lower left corner as well as a reinforcement. And then there's always some examples, and then it ends with that guiding question. So then at this point, the facilitator of the lesson can stop and engage students in a conversation around this guiding question. Because I do believe it is 4th grade, we do get an actual definition of that big word, those big words, ethical responsibility. Younger students, we don't even use the word ethical responsibility, so we just explore it more as just in general making healthy choices. And then for older students, our middle and high school curriculum really takes things to a much deeper level in terms of how we explore all these topics in relation to identity and other things. So so after we have our big idea discussion, we take our cultural learning.
Hola! If you like beaches, you'll love visiting the Dominican Republic, a country that shares the Caribbean island of Hispaniola with its French-speaking neighbor, Haiti. This country is a tropical paradise, complete with colorful birds, mountainous jungles, and warm waters. You'll find music all over this island, and nearly everyone you meet will be happy to show you how to dance merengue. This dance is very easy to learn and so much fun. Paz, Anya, Joy, and Noah will lead you through some steps. Get ready to move. Stand up in your own personal space. Watch and follow along. Then Anya, Noah, Joy, and Paz will teach you each step, and then we'll try again.
Flavor of one of our actual dances, but just a few kind of notes and comments before I move on. These lessons were all designed to be done in classrooms with a small amount of personal space. So no need to move furniture. Students can do it in kind of a personal space bubble right around wherever they sit in the classroom. The dances were all developed over a course of a decade. I started, it was in my little intro piece that you heard about me. I started a program in 2006 in Chicago Public Schools called Dancing with Class helping students develop social skills through movement and dance. These routines have all been vetted and informed by cultural experts for each genre, but also kind of tested in classrooms for accessibility and being easy to learn. And speaking of accessibility, in a little bit, Abby will be kind of closing out our presentation and share a little more specifically about that topic. And then, yeah, so each of the genres that are introduced, we get a short routine with kind of 4 simple steps, and each of the characters demonstrates one that helps with cognitive recognition that the move is changing each time a character changes. And then after students are invited to watch and get comfortable before they start moving and dancing. But then each step is broken down really simply so students can really feel a sense of accomplishment. And then at the end of each lesson, they actually learn a friendship step. So we actually turn the dance into a social engagement where you're facing a partner and interacting with your partner as you do the steps. So they kind of have this little bit of relationship skill building. We'll be sharing later too a little bit about movement therapy strategies and how some of these are incorporated. So the active mirroring, even if we don't do the high 10 and have the physical connection, just mirroring and moving in synchrony with another person is actually a trauma-informed strategy that creative arts therapists use to connect and build trust and help clients explore the way they express themselves. Again, sometimes taking the words away is very liberating and very helpful. So lastly,
time for today's final challenge. We'll think about ethical responsibility in relation to the moves you learned.
So again, this final activity, depending on the grade level, it's a little activity where we go back to that big idea we talked about in the beginning. Now that we've danced and moved, we are going to do something physical, kind of riffing off of those movements to embody the big idea. So to embody this idea of ethical responsibility.
Imagine.
So in this particular challenge, because this is for younger students, we're asking students, what's a superpower you have to make the world better? And it gives examples. It could be something like kindness or love, but it also could be something like great science skills to help find cures for diseases, or super strength to help somebody out if they're struggling with something physically. So the students are given the opportunity to come up with a pose that embodies that superpower. And then they get to try the moves they learned today one more time, but now they're gonna make it their own by bringing this pose that represents their unique power to make the world better, and adding that in as part of how they express themselves through the movement. So that's an example of how we build a social emotional learning competency into a movement activity. And students are really putting these social emotional learning ideas into their muscle memory so that they'll remember them better. And then we provide all those things in the teacher's guide to then help educators reinforce those ideas and bring them into other contexts so that they can be explored in a 360-degree way. And then we do have this, as I mentioned, a little formative assessment, just 2 questions at the end of each journey to kind of check for engagement levels and check for understanding of the SEL objectives. So really quick, one last thing before I hand things over to Abby to bring us home today. We do have this program for older students as well. And when we look at the lessons for older students, it's the same SEL framework and it's the same format.
I'm Jewel.
I'm Fernando.
I'm Luna.
And I'm Miles.
We aspire to be global citizens by becoming a positive part on the world we live in.
We can start by learning to respect ourselves,
the people around us,
in communities and cultures everywhere.
Together, we can make the world better by celebrating our shared humanity.
Let's get moving.
So we have teen hosts and actual teaching artists demonstrating the steps and all that. The teen hosts guide us
It's
through the
Luna,
lesson.
and today's big idea is ethical responsibility.
So it just has a different look and feel and some relatable teen hosts and then actual teaching artists who teach the dances at a little slightly higher level, but still very entry level and accessible for students, and SEL lessons that are very much connected to ideas of exploring identity and culture and really giving students a chance to really think about all these SEL themes on a deeper level. So I am gonna go ahead and stop my screen share and then pass back to Abby to sort of close out.
Margot,
Yes.
sorry, this is Ann. We just had a really quick question. Gilbert was wondering if the students can create their own avatar.
No, it actually, when we were designing the program, it was an idea we thought about. It's technologically, it wasn't a top priority for the program at this point, but maybe someday in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
That would be cool though. I have to say. Okay, thank you, Margot. I always get excited to see people responding and saying they're getting moving in their chair and feel engaged with the movement because they are really fun for all to do. So to bring it back to the PowerPoint, this is another of those anchor activities that Margot was showing you in the teacher's guide. So the one for self-management is what we call 3 for Me breathing. So it's just sort of a basic breathing technique that can be used as a school-wide strategy or, you know, in certain classrooms as a tool that you can teach students up front and then practice as a self-management technique, but also then they have that as a skill if they do get overly excited or upset, having a tool to self-regulate their feelings and their emotions. So I'm just going to quickly take us through 3 for Me breathing. And you'll see that we echo this idea of mind, heart, body, which is a through line throughout the whole program. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and take a deep breath through our nose. And we're going to first focus on our mind. So breathing in and put your hands on your head. And as we breathe out, I want you to send calm to your mind. You can even think of the word calm and send that right to your mind. Very good. We're going to do that again, but this time we're going to put our hands on our hearts and send that calm to our heart. Breathing in. And breathe out and send that calm word or message to our heart. And last but not least, we're going to breathe in and we're going to raise our arms up and think of our body. Ready? Breathing in. And as we exhale, we can just send that feeling of calm all the way throughout our whole body. So again, it just emphasizes this idea of we are whole people, whole children, that we bring our mind, body, and heart to everything we do, and that we can practice self-management with different types of breathing techniques. So that is one of the anchor activities in both the teacher's guide and the SEL Journeys program, but also in our Catch Coordination Kit, which is our main climate and culture environmental change resource for wellness teams. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. So back to the SEL Journeys program, it is evidence informed. And so these are, you know, really positive outcomes that you can see from students who have self-reported how they are interacting with the platform. So you can see really high marks in all of our different 5 competency areas in terms of what students are walking away and saying what they learned with doing the program. a bit more about inclusivity and special needs. As Margot mentioned, we are all about inclusivity and making sure that our program is accessible to all different types of students, no matter what, sort of their physical, mental, or emotional abilities. So we do, within the teacher's guide, have lots of different extensions and suggestions on how to address different types of students. So here's just a few examples. I'm not going to read them off to you. You'll have the slides, you can check it out, or you can get into that teacher's guide and see all of those extensions. But we just wanted to highlight that we have been thoughtful about making sure there are some suggestions for how you can adapt the program and the lessons to meet the needs of all students. A little bit more about, again, this idea of trauma-informed teaching using these body-based or embodied techniques. So here we have just a few examples of ways to incorporate movement and physical activity as being a trauma-informed strategy. So the idea of grounding, and that's really what we were doing with that 3 for Me breathing, right? We were definitely grounding ourselves and feeling connected to the earth is a really great self-management activity. Synchronous moving, so just moving all together in a group. Maybe you've been at a baseball game or a other type of environment where people are all kind of cheering and chanting and moving together. It can be very soothing and feels good to do that together. So that's a really great technique there. Mirroring, Margot was mentioning when she showed the friendship step, even if you're not making physical contact, and even in this age of COVID, we maybe still want to maintain our distance, but it does have a really great effect in terms of developing empathy and understanding, and bringing people together in a nonverbal way. Bilateral movement has been shown to stimulate cognition in different parts of your brain, and that helps to neutralize stress. And then, of course, relaxation and mindfulness can help reduce that. So even some like muscle tension and release types of activities are helpful to release some of that physical stress that's in our bodies that can help bring us calm and peace mentally. So just some ideas of some of those techniques that we can bring to the work, especially if you're doing more of an embodied strategy. So where do I go from here? If you want to learn more, if you want to do more with Catch, with SEL, we do offer more in-depth professional development. We have 3 modules that go along with a school level SEL Journeys implementation. First and foremost, we want to acknowledge that it's not just the instruction piece, it's really that environmental change piece, building a supportive environment amongst the staff, amongst your school routines, culture, climate is really key to having social emotional learning instruction flourish in a school. So we do have a training all about SEL, adult SEL competencies, and making sure that is front and center in terms of how we build that supportive environment in the school. Then we have a longer sort of 2-hour implementation training where we get more in depth into the platform and how to use SEL Journeys in combination with some of these anchor activities as well. And then we also have a training to think specifically about integrating core academics into the program. So as Margot mentioned, having that wraparound 360 implementation where they're learning about the different competencies, SEL competencies in an embodied way, but then they're being reinforced in those throughout their day in different ways, both academically and socially. So these are just some of the training opportunities that we offer around social emotional learning. But in particular today, I also want to feature, if any of you in the Great Lakes region are actually from Michigan, we do have a grant-funded program at the moment through the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. And so we would love and encourage anyone who works with schools, in a school, or as a third-party organization who supports schools to check out our website. It's catch.org/catch-Michigan, and you can read about our program. There, we really emphasize the whole child. And of course, for us, the whole child includes social emotional learning. Our main resource that we use to achieve coordination at that environmental level, remember that climate and cultural level, is what we call our coordination kit. And our coordination kit has different sections throughout the year. And there are those 5 SEL anchor activities that are embedded within each of the sections of the coordination kit. The coordination kit is really a roadmap for a school-based wellness team to get everyone on the same page around whole child, moving in the same direction. So we're really excited to be able to bring this resource to Michigan schools. Any school K through 8 in the whole state of Michigan is eligible. We're trying to recruit 100 schools at least this school year to engage with us in some way. Within that, we are going to provide 13 schools the full SEL Journeys school-wide curriculum at no cost. So if you have a school in mind that would like to try the SEL Journeys platform this year, we can provide it at no cost. So ordinarily it's about $2,000 per school. But through this opportunity, if you're in the state of Michigan, please do not hesitate to reach out and I will let you know how you can get it for free this school year. Beyond that too, we are looking for some pilot schools additionally around the country. If you're really interested, contact me after the webinar and we can see if you might be a good fit for this program as well. The sort of part of that is participating in some student level evaluation with us. So that's all the information around that. I hope you check it out. We're going to do a quick reflection and then we'll have a few minutes at the end for some question and answer. So first and foremost, we don't have to share, but if you want to share in the chat, you're more than welcome to. What is one thing that you learned or get an insight that you gained from the training? So again, head, something in your mind that you learned. You can reflect on that. Heart, how are you feeling? And all feelings fit, mixed feelings are okay. How are you feeling right now around this content? And last but not least, what are body, right? Movement. What are 2 action steps you can take as a result of this webinar? And go ahead and write those down so that you can follow through with them later. So I'll just give you a couple moments to think about that mind, heart, body reflection. And then I don't know if we have any questions in the question and answer box, but we can certainly pause and take time to answer any questions you might have. And I also want to direct you that Stephanie has entered the website for our Catch Michigan project, the link there in the chat box. So please do make sure to click on that so you can check it out after the webinar. All right, any questions?
Thank you, Abby. We don't have any questions right now. Again, we have a couple of minutes. If you have any quick questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. But I just wanted to thank both you and Margot. This is such a fun and great project. I can see why it is so successful in schools because I'm guessing that most of us got up from where we were sitting and tried to dance. So it's a great way to, even for adults who spend a good part of our day sitting, it's nice to be able to just take a couple minutes and wiggle all of that energy out.
Absolutely. It's super fun. And just to highlight too, there's a function beyond the SEL instruction that a teacher could use just the little movement activity as like a movement break in a classroom too, just to get kids up and moving, or if they did a journey and they love the merengue and want to keep doing it, there's a way just to get that little movement piece too. So check that out.
Awesome. Thank you. And if people do have questions, we will put everyone's contact information up.
There it is. I forgot I had my slide up there.
And you
Yes,
will
feel free
get, we will give everyone a copy of these slides. So you will have both Abby and Margot's information if you would like to email them. So again, thank you very, very much. We appreciated it. This is an awesome program, and I'm excited for Michigan to be able to implement this and any other school that's interested. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for including us. We're really happy to share this information with you, and please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Margot to follow up either about the Michigan opportunity or any other questions you might have. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody.